All right. All right, Mark, I do believe we're live, my friend.
All right, we're in.
All right. Yes, we are. So, hello, everybody. Welcome to another VTE webinar. Today, I have the amazing Mark Pender from, he's played with everyone from Bon Jovi, Bruce Springsteen. The list goes on and on, but you might have known him watching him on late night television with the Conan O'Brien show. Mark, welcome so much, man. We're so happy to have you here, man. I mean, it's just amazing to have you here and talk with you. I mean, just the brief time we've talked, I mean, it's just like you're just an amazing cat, and I'm really thankful to have you here today.
Well, Joseph, thanks for asking me. I appreciate it. It's a privilege.
So, Mark, why don't you tell us, how'd you get the horn in your hand, man? How did it all begin?
That, I think probably like a lot of us, the public school band program. I grew up in a little town outside of Kansas City, just south of Kansas City, Grandview, the original hometown of Harry Truman, the president. Fifth grade, they came around and they brought a bunch of instruments. They go, we're gonna have a band program, and you could choose a clarinet, you could choose a flute, you could choose a baritone horn, a trombone, a trumpet. Drums at that time was more or less just a snare.
Yeah.
And all saxophones at that time, very few saxophones. Usually saxophone, the family already had one. They were trying to steer them to clarinets. And so they said, well, what do you think you want to play? And, tell you a little bit how old I am. There was some big hits by Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass out at that time.
That's so awesome.
And so I thought, well, I want to play what Herb Alpert plays then. I mean, I'm not going to play the clarinet or the flute or anything like that. I mean, that just sounds weird. I don't even know what those things look weird, man. So I said, well, I'll try what, they said, well, give your first and second choice. And they were starting all the trumpets on cornet. So I said, cornet. And they go, what's your second choice? And I put down trumpet.
That's cool.
And then they eventually told me, well, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And then the next part of the test was like, can you get a sound out of the damn thing?
Yeah.
And, as soon as they handed it to me, I had a sound going through it. I mean, it was probably pretty bad. So I chose a trumpet, and it was part of that kind of, rent to own program. It was an Olds cornet. That was really, in that era, was really the go-to horn for a lot of schools, that nice Olds cornet.
Yeah.
And started playing in the fifth grade, and just kept playing through school.
So what was high school like for you, man? Like, were you like first trumpet? Were you like, were you like the guy, or were you just like the guy that did it to get in the football games free type stuff? Like,
man, I certainly didn't want to get in the football games for free. I mean, I always, I told everybody I was out visiting family once, and I could hear the marching band. I said, man, that brings back a lot of good memories. And I think my mom said, that's funny, because when you did it, you seemed like you hated it. You start the football season, it's like, 100 degrees out in Kansas City area,
Yeah.
By the end of the football season, it's in like single digits, and there's snow and ice and stuff, it was like a rude marching season,
Yeah.
But in high school though, like music became like a real obsession. So it was just constantly, I just loved everything music. And I shared a room with my brother, and he was picking up the guitar. So I was learning how to play the guitar also, and I could sing. So at that time, I wanted to be a rock star,
Oh, cool.
But in the meantime, I'm still in the band program. And so, sophomore year, you know, between sophomore and senior year, I'd always vacillate between like first, second, and third chair. But this was out of like 9 or 10 guys.
Yeah.
I mean, we had a pretty big band at that time. I think it was like 102 piece, you know, band.
Yeah.
And so I auditioned for stage band, they called it, or jazz band, what they call it now. I auditioned my sophomore year, I didn't get in. I auditioned my junior year, I didn't get in. And I finally got in my senior year. So it was a little bit hit or miss.
Yeah. So, I mean, were you guys playing those lead series type things, you know, those, or were you guys doing like Kenton stuff or?
You know, it was nothing quite as, you know, complicated as the Kenton stuff. It was a lot of those stock kind of charts. You know, I can't even remember what the repertoire was. And we had never, you know, the thing is, I think we did do April in Paris or something like that. And then the solo for it was just written solo from the record, you know.
Right. It's Thad's solo, right.
Yeah. And so, you know, and then there was no emphasis whatsoever on improvisation.
Oh, wow.
So.
You there? Mark, we lost you for a second, buddy.
All right.
Okay.
I know. There, I'm back.
All right, he's back.
Yay! So, you know, that's kind of a strange, you know, it's kind of a strange thing, you know, and I think school programs are much better now in terms of you know, that type of thing.
Yeah.
You know, they improvisation is part of the program, you know. Yeah. They try to get them started earlier. So it took me quite a while to get into that, you know. And I was probably improvising on the guitar before I was on the trumpet, which is very weird.
Oh, wow.
But the good thing is I didn't really know what my notes were while I was playing them.
Okay.
On the guitar.
So, okay, like, so, you know, I've noticed that talking to a lot of the great players like yourself, there's one thing that a lot of you have in common is that you fall in love with the instrument right away. Yeah, I've noticed that. I think that's very important, and that's a kind of a telltale sign that, you know. So when did you, like, okay, after high school, were you like, this is what I want to do? I mean, what happens after high school? What college did you go to?
Well, you know, it is kind of what happened. So that senior year, we had a different band director, and he was a much younger guy, and I was really getting into it. I really loved playing the trumpet, and somewhere in my senior year, so growing up in Kansas City was like kind of a good thing, because they were piecing together this documentary called Last of the Blue Devils about this legendary band, the Blue Devils, mm-hmm. Which was part of that great Kansas City scene at that time. And I saw some raw footage from it. There was like a thing, I saw it in the newspaper, come watch this raw footage, you know.
No.
And I'm like, this is happening in our city. They had these jam sessions and stuff, and all these guys are hanging out, you know, and like showing up every weekend, like hanging out at this place and playing, and I knew nothing about it.
Yeah.
So I'm, you know, it's like, okay, you finish high school, what the hell are you going to do? My guidance counselor, I told her I wanted to be a musician. She said, you know, I'm not sure college is a good fit for you then. If you want to be a musician, maybe you should like get a job at the gas station or something like that.
Wow. Okay.
And I was like, you know, inside of my head, I was like, you know, F you. You know, you're useless. And I always thought you were useless. But on the other hand, I didn't know, you know, like in terms of the cost of college and everything, you know, we weren't poor, but we certainly were not in that kind of, you know, there was not going to be any, you know, funding
right for
my college. So I decided to go to community college.
Okay.
And I went to community college and played in the band there, took theory and stuff like that. And then I met these guys. This guy is Michael Taylor, and him and his brother had a funk band. And he was like, man, you know, you got to come like to one of our rehearsals one night. And it was in the hood, you know. And I was like, yeah. I'm gonna come over to where you guys are rehearsing. Yeah. And I went over there to, it was actually the sax player's house, but he wasn't there. So I'm like playing along with these guys. I'm like, this is great. This is what I want to do. I want to like be in a freaking band. I want to, you know, I want to do that.
Right.
And so the sax player shows up finally, and you know, they all say, well, what do you think? I said, he can, yeah, if he wants to play in the band, he can play in the band. I'm like, oh wow, I can be in the band. So we started doing gigs, and at first they didn't pay me. Probably partially because I was new and because I really just wasn't that good.
Okay.
But I did have access to my mom's car.
Ah, there you go.
A 1971 3-speed Ford Pinto.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. Impressive.
Impressive. You had all the women.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody loved that. A tan 3-speed, you know.
That's beautiful.
I know, right? And you know, so I'm doing some gigs with him, and I'm going to the college and everything. And the guy who ran the band, the college, like, you know, got me on like one of the gigs with his, you know, old man bands, you know.
Yeah.
And my reading was just starting to get marginally better, because in high school I just followed what I heard everybody else doing. I didn't really know how to read. I mean, I knew what the notes were,
yeah,
but couldn't put a piece of music in front of me and expect me to read it.
Mm-hmm.
So I was having some real difficulties. So there was another group of guys that I went to high school with. They had a band too. So I said, well, I'm going to be part of that band, which really meant just showing up at their house and like running tunes every now and then.
Oh, cool.
So the guy says, Kevin Allenbaugh, his name is, he says, look, have you ever been down to the Musicians Foundation? I'm like, no, I don't even know what that is. Because after midnight, every Friday and Saturday night, all night jam session, you got to go down there. So I get my shit together. I'm like, okay, I'm going to go down there. I'm going to check out this jam session. And it just so happened to be the place from where I saw that footage.
Yeah.
The Mutual Musicians Foundation was local 627, the Black Musicians Union before the two unions emerged. Now it's 34-627, but 627 became the Mutual Musicians Foundation. And so it had been the place where everybody belonged, like Charlie Parker belonged there, Lester Young belonged there, Count Basie. It had this huge history of guys, like when you see those legendary things, like, you know, where, you know, the thing with Charlie Parker where they threw the cymbal at him and all that stuff, supposedly that was at that place.
Really?
So it's like, I walk into there and it's like, you can smell it in the air. I mean, and they have all their old, you know, publicity photos up on the wall of all these guys. Parker's was there. I mean, the original ones, the Blue Devils, Benny Moten, and all this stuff is in there. And I show up and, you know, guys are playing and stuff. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. I'd reached Nirvana, you know. It was like, man, this place is so incredible. And so I started showing up every Friday and Saturday night and staying pretty much till they closed. You know, sometimes the sun would be coming up and different people would come down. And one of the first nights that I was there, Jay McShann was there behind the piano.
Wow.
And, you know, this is the guy who brought Charlie Parker to New York, had, you know, first really great big band in Kansas City. He's there. And I'm just like, I couldn't believe, and I'm trying to like play my solos and stuff. And I'd show up early, and there was this trumpet player, a couple of trumpet players there, but there was one guy, he took me under his wing. His name was Orville Piggy Minor.
That's a great name, by the way.
I know, right? So he didn't have any teeth. But he had played on those records with Charlie Parker in McShann's band.
Oh, wow.
He had this crazy mouthpiece, shallow, heavy, very thick rim, rounded rim mouthpiece. And he could squeal, astronomical, notes that were out in the stratosphere,
Yeah.
and could play jazz great.
Wow.
And I was just like, I want, then occasionally, because of the no teeth thing, he would sound terrible.
Yeah.
But every weekend I'd be down there and the guy'd be there. He really treated me like, like his son, and
Yeah.
I just kept showing up. And somehow, like, from going down there, and I'm still part of this band, that the guy I was at community college with, it was called Mass Transit. I'm still part of that band.
Oh, wow.
And a great band. Yeah. So we're all of a sudden working like, between 2 and 4 or 5 nights a week, playing clubs and stuff. So, and then I go down to this musicians foundation after our gigs on the weekend. So there was a guy there, his name was Professor Willie Rice, and he was a piano player and arranger and also a trumpet player. He was putting together a big band that was going to be a government-funded big band from the CETA program when Jimmy Carter was president, a comprehensive employment training action. And it was one of the only bands in the country, 18 pieces. One band was in New York, and the other band was in Kansas City. So I'm down there one night hanging out with Willie Rice, and he goes, I want you to be in the trumpet section of my band. And I was like, you know what? He's had a few drinks. This has got to be bullshit.
Right.
But you know what? He said, go down to the unemployment office, become certified unemployed, and when you're done on Monday, come down here. So I went down to the Musicians Foundation about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and there were like 17 other guys there. It was legit. So a week or two later, we start playing 5 days a week from like 11:30 in the morning till 7:30 at night.
Oh, ouch.
And we did all these, of course, there was a lot of times, guys would be doing what musicians do,
Yeah, jazz breaks.
Yeah, exactly. So I was the youngest guy in the band.
Yeah.
I didn't want to play lead because I couldn't read that well. Eventually, Willie Rice said, look, you're playing lead or I can't use you.
Wow. Trial by fire, huh?
I jumped in the lead chair, and it was like probably, it was probably the best thing that ever happened to me. Because it was like this first full-time job in music. My apologies. I need to block this. I don't know how to do it.
What was that?
Somebody keeps trying to FaceTime me.
Oh.
But it was just such a great experience because now all of a sudden I'm playing like hours and hours every day.
Right.
And community college was getting in the way. So I cut it loose. Well, actually, I got through the 2 years, the 4 semesters. And I didn't complete any more education after that.
So let me ask you, Mark. So you know what? I'm noticing this too. I mean, and we talked about this before we started the webinar. You learned in the field, which is the best place to learn. That's the best place to learn. I mean, it wasn't academia that you earned your stripes in. It was, it was actually out there working every night, learning from all the guys around you, which it should be that way. Academia definitely has its place, but I mean, the only way you're going to do this right is if you're actually out there. So you had this just experiences where you're actually playing for a living. That's what you're doing at a young age. It's all you know.
Sure, I was about 19 years old,
Right. So let me ask you this: when you're like you said, you're playing in this big band, you're playing all day, every day. You're like, well, college is not for me. I'm going to cut that loose. What happens next? Like, can you tell us about the move to New York City, or who'd you earn?
Sure.
Let me ask you, who'd you earn your rep with? Because you have to have a rep before you go to New York City.
Well, I earned my rep through this band.
Okay.
The Inner City Orchestra, and through our other band, Mass Transit. So everybody in the Kansas City area knew about us. So this soul jazz organist comes to town for a 2-week or 1-week residence at a jazz club in Kansas City. Charles Earlin.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, the last recording of Lee Morgan is a record for Charles Earlin.
Oh, wow. I just saw that. Yeah.
He's fantastic organist, one of those, tried and true B3 guys. So one thing I really loved about Kansas City is this tradition of the jam. I didn't notice the same thing in New York when I moved there, but guys would go sit in with people. They'd go sit in with their friends. It was always this kind of, and even sometimes strangers say, hey, you mind if I sit in? And people invite you up and you could play,
Yeah.
So it had this kind of loose atmosphere of something was going on, So Charlie comes to town and invites me up to play. I play, and he goes, wow, you're incredible. I'm coming back next year, and I want you to join my band.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, sure. Yeah, I don't believe any of that. So he came back the next year, and he started looking for me, and he looked for my partner too, the saxophone player. Was my best friend at the time. We were in this Inner City Orchestra together. He was the guy's house we went to for this band. Steve Harvey, great saxophone player, and he wanted both of us to join his band, moved to New York with him.
Oh, wow.
And he threw around how much we would make, and I it's almost what I'm making. It's almost about what I'm making now in Kansas City.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a huge amount of money, but it was like this adventure. This guy just signed to Columbia Records. He wants you in the band, and you moved to New York. I gotta go.
Right.
So I, got rid of my car and everything. I jumped on the bus with him, and we spent a couple of months traveling around, and it sucked. There'd be like 3 of us sleeping in the room, 1 guy on the floor. What he didn't tell us about the money we were making is we needed to pay our food and our nightly hotel expense out of it.
Oh, your expenses, yeah.
Yeah. So my buddy Steve Harvey was actually going in the hole.
Oh, wow.
He was spending more money than we were actually making.
Right.
So we get to New York, and we play in Newark, New Jersey at one of these big organ bars, Sparky J's. And it was like I think it was, something like 13 sets for the week or something like,
yeah,
like, a lot of playing for not so much money. And after that, my buddy Steve says, man, I can't take this. I'm going home. And I felt like I couldn't, well, you're in New York. I mean, this isn't great. You're not working. You don't have any money coming in, but I'm going to stay anyway.
Yeah. So you're in New York City, man, and you're probably what, in your early 20s? And,
yeah, I'm like 21.
Yeah, and so
22. Yeah.
Let's talk about breaking into the scene in New York, and let's talk about getting because you have to have a name in order to play with Max Weinberg, or people have to know you.
Yeah.
How did you get to that? How did you get to that part in your career? And
Well, that's pretty interesting, right? And it's kind of a lesson in I think how almost any industry works. So I'm like trying to get my stuff together in New York, and it was tough, man. I was like working at day jobs and temporary agency, and then occasionally Charlie Erlin would have some dates, and I'd quit the day job and then go out with him for a couple of weeks and come back, and I darn near starving to death. I got evicted like 3 times in the first couple of years. It was not ideal. It wasn't this glorious picture that I had envisioned.
Right.
So, but then I started meeting guys, and I met this trumpet player, Mike Spangler, a really great trumpet player, and he was a trumpet player in Southside Johnny and the Asbury Jukes.
Yeah.
So we did this session together, and he recommends me to the horn section to do another session because they had 2 trumpets in the band, 5-piece horn section. They go, well, this guy can't make it. Maybe you can fill in. So I did a session, and oh, okay, you're pretty good.
Yeah.
Then that horn section got asked to tour with Diana Ross.
Oh wow. Okay.
So this is like 1981, and so the trumpet player had a bicycle accident. Not Mike, but the other guy.
Yeah.
So I get this phone call, and they say, look, if you can get over here in the next like 45 minutes, I think you'll get the gig. So, I'm at that time I had a 1971 Oldsmobile Cutlass that was spray painted white.
Spray painted?
Yeah. Man, it was a V8 though. Man, I had that thing flying down the highway, and I was living in North New Jersey, and I go to this house. They give me the address and directions and everything, and I didn't know at the time, but it was Southside Johnny's house, but he wasn't there.
Yeah.
So we're rehearsed, they's like, here's some charts and stuff. We've been asked to take the 13 horn parts of Diana Ross and condense them to 5. So if you want to do this with us, you need to do a couple of arrangements. So, okay, cool.
Yeah.
So took those back into my apartment. At the time, I had all 13 parts laid out on the floor, and I'm trying to figure out, well, what are they trying to do here?
Yeah.
So I did that. We did the rehearsals, and our first dates are like, it's like 3 weeks in Las Vegas at the Riviera.
Oh, wow.
And, it's totally exciting. And after that, I came home, and I just thought it was like a one-off, and that the other trumpet player had come back after his accident. But I guess he wasn't recovering that quickly. And so while I'm in Las Vegas, I'm told, well, look, Southside Johnny would like you to come and do some shows with him too, but you need to learn these 23 songs. Like 23 songs. You have charts? We don't have any charts. But here's some tapes. So I listened to the tapes, and Mike Spangler is such a great guy. He's a great trumpet player, still kicking around the New Jersey, New York area. And he says, learn whatever part you hear, and I'll play the other part. So I'm cramming for these couple of weeks, We get back, no rehearsal. We show up at a gig in Staten Island. I can't remember the name of the theater, but it had like 1,200 people in it or something like that. Yeah. And Southside Johnny was, a great rock and roll horn band. And I did this first gig with him, and it was just electrifying. And, I'd started out to be a jazz blues player. Mm-hmm. But Johnny's thing was so rooted in the blues and that kind of thing that it was such a good fit. And, I still play with him sometimes.
Oh, that's so cool, man.
Yeah, he's a great guy. I'm lucky to have met him and had him as part of my story.
Yeah. So moving forward, how did you get the call from Max Weinberg and going into the show?
Well, then that's part of this horn section. So it's all about relationships in the end. I'm convinced.
Yeah.
So, you know, in that horn section with Mike Spangler was La Bamba.
Ah.
Yeah. Eddie Kingfish Mannion, saxophone player. Stan Harrison played sax, you know, and these guys are guys that I ended up playing with and still end up playing with to this day. So we had gotten asked at that same time, we were doing both bands, Diana Ross and Southside Johnny, but then Little Steven, Bruce's guitar player, Miami Steve Van Zandt, Silvio from The Sopranos.
Yeah.
Little Steven and the Disciples of Soul. So he's getting ready to do his first record.
Yeah.
So I get the opportunity to play on that record.
Oh, wow.
So I do the record, and then we do all these videos. And I'm in the videos, and they become like some of the first videos on MTV.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm like 24 years old.
Yeah.
You know, and Bruce Springsteen comes in and sings on that record with him.
Oh, wow.
So in meeting these guys, I become part of the group. And I've maintained that relationship since.
Yeah.
Which has been a great thing. And through that, I meet Max Weinberg. You know, eventually I quit Diana Ross. I quit Southside Johnny to go out with Little Steven for like half the money that Diana Ross paid.
Oh, wow.
But we're on the record.
Yeah.
We're in the videos.
Right.
With Diana, we were always going to be sideman.
Yeah.
So I thought it was the right choice to make. Later, I questioned that move.
Well, it seems like it turned out for the best, though.
It did, but a lot of people would have argued for quite a few years after that. Man, did you screw up? But it did turn out great because, you know, Bruce decides he wants to take out a horn section in 1988 for the Tunnel of Love tour. And of course, Steven recommends us.
Yeah.
So, you know, now I'm playing with those guys. We tour for about a year and a half. And at the end of it, I'm living in Westwood, New Jersey, and there's a piano player, Joe D'Elia, out there who's putting together a jump blues band, and Max Weinberg was part of it.
Okay.
So we're like rehearsing a couple of days a week to go into the city and play at Tramps for like $50. So, but we're rehearsing like twice a week for this.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You know.
Been there.
Doesn't make sense. You know, it just doesn't make sense. But it made sense to me at the time.
Right.
So we did a record for that band, and Max Weinberg takes that record and secures the audition for the Conan show from that.
Wow. Okay.
So somehow I didn't screw it up.
So one of the things, and we were talking about this, and every trumpet player who's watching right now, and I am not the only one, and I can name names, but I'm not going to name names. But you know, Mark, when I first heard you, my dad was he wanted to see somebody on the Conan show. It was late night. It was after Leno, right? So he wanted to see somebody, and I was staying up with him, and then I was 14 at the time, and I hear this, they call it the double G heard around the world. I don't know if you're aware of this.
I wasn't.
And it's you know, I hear this beautiful just wow, you know, and so I mean my eyes perked up, and then I'm just like nailed to the TV set. And for every night after that, I would sneak down, and I would at 11 o'clock, because that's what time Conan came on, and I would switch on the TV and see if you would miss. And you never missed.
I wonder if I'd miss it now. Wait a second.
He's gonna do it.
You know, right now I have to warn you, I have COVID chops, you know.
And so, oh, that's amazing. Thank you so much, Mark. That's great.
I guess I still got it.
Yeah. So anyway, like I said, when I got into college, I mean, I tried doing it, me and four other buddies, and we passed out trying doing it. So, so the thing is that you're on this nightly TV show where you have all these name acts. Can you tell what is a day in the life of the show like for you? And what was it like? Rehearsals, reading the charts, what was it like?
It kind of morphed into a few different things. Early on in New York, we got there really, fairly early, 10, 11 o'clock in the morning, and we rehearsed actually at a rehearsal studio. But then once we got going, they came up with a little dressing room that's probably about the size of the room that you're in.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And we set up the whole band in there.
Wow.
And that's why I have tinnitus. No, that's one of the reasons.
Yeah.
So then our call became 1:30.
Yeah.
And then somewhere between 1:30 and whatever, we go through our walk-ons that we were going to do and rehearse anything new. Sometimes if there was a guest band that we were playing with, we'd need to be there in the morning. Yeah. Now later, we started showing up much earlier.
Okay.
Sometimes 10 a.m. and then it became noon. And we would rehearse everything that we were going to do. Then we would sit through Conan's comedy rehearsal in case he needed any music, or if he wanted to jam with us.
Yeah.
And then we'd have a break and usually have some lunch and whatever else happened, and do makeup and do the warm up, and then on to the show.
So let me ask you, first of all, for some of you who don't know, I mean, TV is very unforgiving, and it's like, it's this, it has to be this when, it's very, it's very structured. I'll just say that there's no wiggle room for anything. Now, what was expected of you as a player in that chair? I mean,
well, I have to say it created a lot of anxiety because early on we did fix a couple of things.
Yeah.
But it made production not happy.
Okay.
So basically it was decided that you better get it right. And if you don't get it right, you just got to live with it.
Oh, wow.
So, that nice little crack that you make on whatever, or the, something's a little whatever, sharp or flat, there's no going back and getting it.
Right.
So once you get that set in your mind, I think you can do it.
Yeah.
It just takes quite a bit more concentration. So for that hour and change that we're actually taping the show, those moments were very focused.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out what are we doing next, trying not to get too lost in the funny shit that everybody's saying. And, and then when it comes time to play it, get counted in, make sure you come in right, make sure you end right.
Yeah.
And it's funny, a lot of times in that early show, you could see as much as 5 or 10 seconds, which doesn't sound like much, but if you put a stopwatch out in TV time, 5 or 10 seconds is a lot of time.
Right.
So you actually did used to see us.
Yeah. What was the book like? Were you always surprised? You're like, oh, I got to do this? Okay.
Yeah, there were some moments that, there was some stuff that was definitely above my ability. Thankfully, Jimmy Vivino, fantastic arranger, guitar player. I started getting used to the way that he wrote, so it made it easier.
Okay.
The other thing that he used to do is that he used to write everything by hand in concert. So he put all 3 parts on one staff.
Oh.
And I decided early on, instead of rewriting everything every day, why don't I just try to learn to read it a step up?
Right.
So I actually hardly ever rewrote anything the whole time we were there in 25 years.
Oh, wow.
So I just tried to read everything in concert. Now that caused some problems later because I'd show up on another gig and I'd start transposing instead of reading.
Right. I've done that. So let me ask you a question. When, like, on the show, like, say if Tony Bennett got on the show, Stevie Wonder, or so whoever got on the show, like, would you have to sit in the band and play the charts too? Was that part of the gig too? Would you have to?
Sometimes, if the artist asked for it. It
Okay.
wasn't like Letterman's show with Paul Schaefer where they played with the house band. Nobody was required to play with the house band on our show.
Yeah.
It was a different era of music, honestly, between the 80s and the 90s. By the time, the show started in 93, the scene was much more band oriented. So guys would bring in their self-contained acts and they didn't want to have to play with the house band. But that being said, we would play with like Tony Bennett. We played, with like so many people over the years, I mean, the horn section, we played with U2. We played with, sometimes it'd be just the horns. There was this one moment where, I was thrilled. Burt Bacharach and Ronald Isley did Rainbows keep falling. No, Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head, right?
Right.
So it's such an exposed trumpet part in the middle of this thing.
Oh, yeah.
And Bert is over there, man, you better not crack this. Because we played on that other show the other night and the guy did it great at rehearsal, but when we taped it, he was all over it.
Yeah.
It didn't make me terribly comfortable. But I played it and it turned out great. I didn't crack. I was like, okay, the force is with you.
So, Mark, and I've heard a lot of guys that have played on shows like yours. And by the way, I'm not the only one that thinks this. I thought, in my opinion, the Conan band was the best late night band for a long time.
Well, thank you so much.
You guys were after the Tonight Show band, the Severinsen. I thought you guys were I remember you guys. Letterman came on Conan one time, and you guys played the theme, and you killed it. And he's like, "Yeah, But anyway, was there ever a time? Were there ever times where it just wasn't happening for you, or was it like, no, it's do or die?
I had bad days and good days. Everybody gets sick or whatnot. And the way of my thinking was always, well, if you're sick, come on in anyway, which I would not recommend these days.
Right.
Very bad. But, and then there were days where my chops were just cashed out.
Yeah.
And there's always, I think you know this as a trumpet player, there's always that thin line between playing just enough and having played too much. Right. And like, you know what? My chops are decided that they can't cash this check. You've written it, but your chops aren't going to cash it.
so again, wow, we're already 15 minutes to 3, and I apologize, man.
No. Thank you. I get, I guess I'm full of a lot of hot air,
No. I just don't want to monopolize your time, man. But I was going to ask you, so what's the most memorable moment on the show that you thought, that really stands out that for you, that, kind of something that, I can't believe I did that, or I can't believe that happened, or,
I wish there was just one.
Yeah.
But there really isn't. Somebody posted something the other day of Pete Townsend singling me out, talking about my warm-up where I did the circular breathing and everything.
Right.
And, to be noticed by Pete Townsend and mentioned on the air. Jerry Lewis did the same thing. We got to play with, B.B. King.
Wow.
There were some musical guests that were just incredible that I, just still can't get over the fact that I got to play with all these great people. And then Conan and the team was very generous with our exposure and the amount of time and things we got to do with them. And, to me, it's almost like the best moment of it was the whole entire collective 25 years.
Wow. So let me, I was going to ask you, you're, you're doing the show and then you're asked to go to Los Angeles to be the new Tonight Show band.
Yeah.
Can you tell us what that was like, moving from the East Coast to the West Coast?
Well, initially I was pretty excited about it.
Yeah.
I had in my head what I thought Los Angeles would be like.
Right.
And, I've learned over time that no place is exactly like you think it's going to be.
Right.
So it was really challenging.
Yeah.
And in New York, I had all these relationships I'd built. I moved there when I was 22. I left in my late 40s.
Yeah.
It was I spent like almost 30 years of meeting people and developing relationships and everything, and I thought that LA would be the same, but what I forgot was that it is all relationships. So I get to LA and people don't really didn't really give a shit that I was the guy on the Conan show so much.
They're all on shows, right? They're all on.
Well, there are some guys that are, but unfortunately there aren't that many gigs like there probably was at one time with bands, so many bands on so many shows.
Yeah.
So, like in a way it was like, and not really starting all over again, but it was like redeveloping new friendships and meeting new people, and it was challenging. It has been challenging.
So, and we talked about this earlier. I've noticed when I went from New York to LA, even the plane's different. The scene's different. The music's different. But even the plane, the swing is different.
The swing is different. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, even phrasing and stuff's a little bit different. I mean, it's crazy. The mindset's different.
Can you go into that? Can you go into that?
Well, New York, I mean, maybe I'm wrong about it, but I know that when I've done gigs, especially when I started doing some freelance out here, is there was much more driven by what's on the page and the emphasis to being able to read anything and everything all the time. Where in New York, definitely reading was important, but there was also much more of a type of looseness and playfulness that would want to be infused into whatever it is, and sometimes it would be making up parts on the spot. I feel like I was asked to make up parts more on the spot than I've ever been here, because guys really love stuff to be charted here, and it's a really different kind of scene. Also in New York, you have to think like LA's great for a lot of things, and the players that I've met out here are just incredible, beautiful people, and they're my brothers and sisters. But it is a different scene. I think in New York you also have more clubs, you have more private parties, you have more like jingles, you had maybe less movie dates and stuff like that. But I've not found that I was able to I got more movie dates living in New York than I have the whole time I've been in LA, which is already 11 years.
What movies have you done? I missed that in your bio.
Adventures in Babysitting.
Cool.
Band Camp. There's like a bunch of stuff in there, but there's a group of guys that really do that well. Yeah. Here, and I thought maybe I'd be able to get into that scene, but now I don't. It doesn't bother me because I've kind of always been the guy who's been in a band. I've been part of a band, part of a group of guys that all got there together. Yeah. And I feel like that hasn't changed. So once I recognized that, it made it a lot easier here.
Yeah. And and I apologize, Mark. Can I keep you like 10 more minutes after 3 o'clock?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, cool. Because I want to get to some of the questions. But can we talk about playing with the boss, not Maynard Ferguson, but the other boss? Playing the Super Bowl with Bruce Springsteen, man. I saw that concert, and can you tell us what that was like, man? Playing the Super Bowl with the rock legend like that?
I'd never been more afraid with stage fright my entire life. So, now all of a sudden we're lined up, getting ready to go onto the stage. And somebody said there's 100 million people that are going to be watching. And I thought, well, okay, one crack, and you're the guy who cracks in front of 100 million people.
Right.
So I started to get really nervous. And I ran into some people that I knew there that were like on an emotional level really helped me.
Yeah.
And I started to turn it in another direction. Like, man, you're getting ready to play the Super Bowl. You've seen every Super Bowl. You love this thing. This will probably be your only chance to do it. Don't remember it as the time you were so afraid. Go out there and enjoy it. And, they cut to dark and we jump up on the stage and Bruce counts the thing off, and it was just incredible. It was a ride like nothing I'd ever, the exhilaration. We didn't practice the pyro in back of us because it had been raining for the run through.
Right.
So I was not expecting the rockets that were about 6 feet behind me that shot, the amazing fireworks that you see, and they come with some real heat and some real force,
Oh yeah.
Not expecting all that.
Now, can you debunk a lot of the myth? They're like, oh, that stuff's all tracked. No, you guys played that live, right?
We did, and it's tracked.
Okay, how did that work?
So, because things can go wrong,
they
wanted us to record the whole thing as a safety.
Okay.
And then the idea would be that we'd play along with it in real time, though. Nobody's lip syncing. Everybody's playing it in real time. Max had a click track. Everything was going to be exactly in time.
Yeah.
So as it turns out, once we started, there were no glitches.
Yeah.
So in the mix, they shifted it from, even live tape to more live than tape.
Oh, wow.
So, and I think they do that with most of the bands. I mean, obviously some of the acts now are all lip synced,
Yeah.
But I think ours was probably one of the most live ones. If you made a mistake there, it was going to get hurt. And I think, Bruce being who he is, pulled some magic out of the whole thing. I mean, what a performer.
Yeah.
The moments that I've gotten to spend around him have just been inspirational, on a creative thing. Like I said, I wanted to be like a jazz blues guy, but then when I get to work around somebody like that, I'm learning something else.
Right.
Picking up something from what they're doing.
One thing, Mark, I wanted to ask you, and I'm going to just go, if it's okay with you, I'm going to go into some of the questions. One of the questions I had, Mark, is when you're playing in front of 40,000 people, 100,000 people, 20,000 people, and we've all been on gigs where they're outside and the sound isn't right, and you try not to blow yourself out. How does that work on the grand scale of things when you're playing, like when you played the Super Bowl? Could you even hear what you were playing?
Well, we had the in-ear monitors.
Right.
So now with a lot of the better acts or bigger acts, it's all in-ear monitors. But back in the day, that was not so prevalent. It was all, wedges and stuff. And, and then you even did some big clubs and stuff where there just wasn't anything. I mean, you look at some of that footage from like Woodstock with Sly and the Family Stone, and there were like no wedges or anything. Those guys are, or Otis Redding, with the Memphis Horns, those guys played without monitors and stuff. Man, you're talking about a tough blow.
Yeah.
And even with all of that, you're lucky sometimes if you hear yourself because it's so loud.
Yeah.
And that's even with something inside your ear that has mostly you in it, because there's just so much force and stuff. And excitement, also sometimes will make you blow harder than you should.
Right.
So that's really me. I've probably always blown about 30% harder than I needed to. And then you do come up with that problem. How am I going to keep up?
Yeah.
Like, okay, I have enough chops for about 3 or 4 songs into this set, but we got like 20 songs.
Yeah. What about the next hour and a half?
Right.
Yeah.
And honestly, I don't know what happens now, except for, maybe the good analogy is that, this whole coronavirus thing has been, tragic in so many ways, but somehow, I've been touring with Kenny Wayne Shepherd, just incredible guitar player, incredible band, great opportunity for me since Conan ended about 1.5 years ago. We were scheduled to do quite a bit of touring this year, which now we've done none. So our last date was March the 1st with Kenny, and I haven't done a show since then, obviously, but I haven't missed a day of practice.
Yeah.
And some of that is like, what do you rely on when your chops start to cash out?
Yeah.
And some of it's like whatever endurance exercises and everything you do all the time. Like if your chops start to cash out, if you've done enough, like, lip slurs, long tones, or whatever, and put in a decent amount of practice consistently, you should be able to rebound and at least do something.
Yeah.
Get through the gig at the very least.
Right.
Maybe you don't have everything that you want. Something that's been hard for me to learn is to try to pull back a little bit early in the night.
Yeah.
Pull back a little bit when you're excited and you're hyped in front of, we played with Kenny in Brazil in November. We played Sao Paulo and Porto Alegre.
Yeah.
And we had 40,000 people at each one of those shows.
Oh, wow.
And I was like so hyped,
Yeah.
And Kenny, very generous, gives us all a bunch of solos. So you try to hold, I was trying to hold back so I'd still have something left for the solo.
Yeah.
So it definitely takes some doing, I'm a Doc Reinhardt guy.
Yeah.
I got to do a lesson with him when I was in my late teens. The only like formal trumpet lesson I've ever taken.
Yeah.
I spent like 2 days with Doc Reinhardt, So I still do my Doc Reinhardt every day.
Yeah. So you still follow that same pedagogy that you learned from him.
Yeah.
And so like I'm gonna get to the questions. Again, guys, I'm sorry, but Mark, my friend Brian, he's one of the guys that passed out with me when we were playing. Yeah, he says when you're on the TV show, and this is another chop question, and you feel like you got nothing left, how do you get through it when you were on the show?
Yeah, that goes back to the same thing. Sometimes it's like, okay, back off. Couple of times when we're out in commercial and nobody sees us, I'd take the part down an octave. I wouldn't lay out, but I'd take the part down an octave.
Yeah.
Try to blow not so hard. Try to think about placement. I'm kind of a big fan. Maybe it's my chops and not everybody else's, like trying to like, okay, put the weight, like you're starting to cash out, put the weight on the lower lip, lower lip. Try to keep that top lip, save your top lip, go for the lower lip,
Yeah. Okay, cool, man. So my buddy David from Portland, he asked, hey Mark, love your stuff. What's the Bruce Springsteen book like?
That's another, like, the couple of times that I toured with him, the first one was a Tunnel of Love tour, was a 3.5-hour show.
Ouch.
I don't know if I could get through that now. I would have to really build up to it. I'm sure I could.
Yeah.
And then we later did the Segar sessions thing, and I was doing Conan at the same time. Oh, wow. So there were days where I do the Conan show, go fly out with Bruce, and then do a 2 hour and 45-minute show.
Wow.
So those books were really challenging because it's a lot of pads,
Yeah.
and then a lot of specific parts that need to be like triple forte.
Yeah.
And then Bruce also, out of generosity, would always throw a solo too. Like during the Tunnel of Love, Twist and Shout, he had me play this crazy trumpet solo that came in 3 hours and 15 minutes into the show.
Wow.
And somehow I still had something left. The Segar sessions thing, man, it seemed like we had just like tons of solos on that thing,
Yeah.
and sometimes I feel like if you're able to get around the horn, it helps the chops too.
Okay, cool. So Ryan from North Dakota, I don't know you, Ryan, but I'll ask the question. Mark, I've been a big fan for years. Mark, what would you say to someone who says, I want to do what you do? What advice would you give them?
Quit. No, I think even in today's world, I think, playing music is such a gift, and it's a gift to other people too. Yeah. You got to play as much as you can. And sometimes you have to, at the right times, you have to forget about the money.
Yeah.
And think about the situation, what you're going to get out of it. Maybe you're playing in somebody's garage. Maybe you're playing in church. Maybe you're playing in some clubs. Maybe you're playing, behind the basketball game or whatever. But it's to get out and play. You got to play. And I think that that's important. We used to get together, just a group of friends, and just like jam. Yeah. And I think a lot of college systems are much different than they were when I was coming up. The jazz programs really hadn't really started in full yet. Not every university had a great jazz program.
No.
And I think a lot of these programs probably are really good. At least it gives you a chance to play with other people and to collaborate. I mean, that's the thing about music. It really relies so much on other people playing off of them, their energy, their feeling, their emotion, their ability,
No. Cool. My buddy Rick from LA says, Mark, what kind of player does it take to do the stuff you do? What kind of player do you have to be? What would you say the kind of player you have to be to do the stuff you do? What would you say are the prerequisites, to do what you do?
Wow, I don't know. I mean, I think it's, all around, kind of a broadness of approach,
Oh.
Like I said, I mean, I wanted to be like a jazz star, I wanted to like play with blues bands and rhythm and blues and funk and stuff like that. And then, I like was always in love with rock and roll. And, and then there's like, the situations that you do read in. I never played too much legit music, even though I did in high school, but not so much after that. Who knows? Maybe that's another page of my career coming up. Yeah. But it's really, I think it's really about, again, it comes down to that. And I've always been a guy, a way somebody can get me on a gig is like, okay, man, you're going to love this. I got a bunch of solos I want you to play. Man, I just love coming somewhere and improvising in front of people and seeing their reaction,
Right. Sweet. So Alan asks, do you ever take time off? And if so, how much?
That's a good question. No. So during, I don't know, there was like a period of about 20 something years I didn't take a day off.
Yeah.
Then recently, while we were doing some of Kenny Wayne's gigs, we were playing so hard and so loud that I started to get some issues.
Right.
Like my chops need to heal. So then maybe I'd take a full day off, or maybe I'd just like do low tones for 15 minutes. But and in that way, I'll take a day off. I mean, since the crisis, I haven't taken a day off. I've played every day.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. Jason wants to know, what is Conan like? Is he really the weird, crazy, creepy dude that we all see on TV?
Yeah, and then some.
Okay.
I always thought the show should have been him, like, not knowing he was being taped.
Especially the one we did the ride along with the car thing with Kevin Hart and Ice Cube.
Oh yeah, incredible.
So that's awesome. Mark, I have a question for you.
Okay.
Mark, I've noticed that at one point in time, a lot of players go through self-doubt. I'm actually writing a book on it. And there's always this thing where either someone close to them says, "Hey kid, sell your horn." Or, even as an adult, the guy sitting next to us goes, "Man, you should do something else." Or, there's always a point in a lot of music. I'm seeing, even with the greats like yourself and the guys that are, there's a point of self-doubt where, like, should I really be doing this? Did you ever go through that in your career? And if so, how'd you get through it?
I don't think that ever ends.
Yeah.
I mean, there's another thing during this virus, and not like knowing I have any gigs or anything, is like, well, now is the time you like give up, because there is a lot of self-doubt. Are you going to be able to keep up? And I was told basically in high school, don't do it. When I moved to New York, I wasn't really earning a living doing it, but I was still trying to do it. And self-doubt's such a tricky thing, I mean, we all have to kind of work on ourselves on an emotional level. I know with me, like a big epiphany is when I stopped drinking and using drugs, It was like kind of because I realized that sometimes my anxiety and my self-doubt would be so overwhelming that it would lead to some type of paralysis. Right. And I don't feel that way now, but still, definitely, there's a lot of self-doubt. And sometimes I think you just have to continue to show up. Yeah. And, live in the moment, like I have. Maybe, I don't know what tomorrow is going to be, but I have today.
Yeah. Well, that's great. That's great advice, Mark. Oh, Jack. Cool, man. I haven't talked to Jack in years. Jack wanted to say, Mark, what equipment do you play on? This is it.
Yeah. I started this love affair in the late 90s with the B&S Challenger trumpets. All by accident. I was playing the Bach, 37 for years. I thought I'd never, ever play anything else. Yeah. And I was asked to try one of their horns, and I really didn't want to. And by the end of the day, I had them leave the horn with me. And I've been playing their horns since then. Yeah. I had never played a silver horn. And then I went to B&S Buffet Crampon headquarters in Jacksonville, and I played about 25 horns. And my mantra on the plane out there was, don't come home with another horn. You don't need one. And I played this darn silver horn, and man, that thing is incredible. So I came home with another horn. Right. So I'm playing the B&S Challenger 1. Yeah. And now the mouthpiece is a dinosaur. I'm playing a Dave Stahl custom model jet tone.
Wow, you play a jet tone?
Yeah.
You get that sound out of a jet tone? That's amazing.
It's a sweet jet tone, though, man. I finally was exchanging some emails with Dave Stahl, and he doesn't even have any of them anymore.
Oh, wow.
But now, jet tone, I don't even think, somebody has the molds, but they don't make them the same way. Yeah. So I've had to look for vintage Dave Stahl custom model jet tones.
How many do you have?
I have like 3.
Okay. And what flugel do you play on? I know you have a really big flugel.
Yeah, I have the B&S, the Challenger flugel.
Oh, okay. So are those your signature models?
No, no.
Yeah.
But one of their trumpets was at one time, but
Yeah.
they, it was like the one that has the gold lacquer was the trumpet was, but
Yeah.
not the flugelhorn.
Okay, cool. Like, have you ever had to play I mean, I pick or anything like that, or the show?
I have a couple of picks, and one of them's a BNS, and then the other's like man, I can't even remember the name of it. Man, that thing was so cheap. I had to play. I was fortunate enough to play like the solo to Penny Lane with this band Fat Foe.
Yeah.
And Lou Soloff, I was taking his place.
Oh wow.
For a couple of gigs.
Yeah.
And so I went out and got this. Maybe is it a Stromby? Something like that. It's a Yugoslavian piccolo. But I have the BNS now, so maybe a couple of times a year I'll play it. Not often.
Oh, cool. Like, do you play any do you play like cornet or anything like that? E flat, anything like that? I mean, do you have those or?
I found a way to. I didn't remember, but I sold my original old cornet that I was talking about early.
Yeah.
And I went and did a gig in Kansas City, and the guy that I sold it to brought it and gave it to me.
Oh, that's great, man.
So I got that, and then I have a King 1950s King cornet, and that thing plays pretty nice too. I have a Bach valve bone.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, so that's nice. I've done some sessions and stuff. I've been doing some music for some animation and some other things, and I'll lay down some trombones and then a few trumpets, and it almost sounds like a real horn section.
Cool. My buddy Mary out of Florida, she is a trumpet player. She asked, what's the most difficult thing you had to overcome as a player?
Probably not quitting.
Okay.
The self-doubt.
Yeah.
When I first got to New York, too, my buddy I was telling you about, Steve Harvey, he lost his life.
Yeah.
Back in Kansas City, and I thought if I went home, I'd never go back to New York, and I don't know what would have happened.
Yeah.
So it was more of an emotional thing. I mean, in terms of playing, I'm not sure what there is. I mean, I feel like I've always just kind of powered through.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I mean, you're not the only one to say that. I've interviewed a lot of trumpet players as of recent, and they say the same thing. They just powered through it. It's going to be okay if you stay with it. Yeah.
Right. I mean, you heard like Louis Armstrong, he had to take like a year off or something like that, because he had like that massive rip. And I think Wynton took like a few months off. It might even been a year.
Yeah.
He had like, and that's always in the back of my head. When's that going to happen?
Hopefully not anytime soon.
No, that's true.
My buddy Roger asked, who is your biggest influence as a player?
Wow. Again, there's so many. I think in high school, there was Herb Alpert, in fifth grade. There's Miles Davis when I was in high school. I tried to learn his solos and stuff. Dizzy Gillespie had just like knocked me out. But then I became a Maynard freak. Like I think like towards the end of high school, I was like, you got to be kidding me. And I went to one of his shows, and it was like a rock concert with him playing those ridiculous high notes. Yeah. But not only that, the dude was like playing some serious jazz too.
Yeah. And you were in Kansas City. Wasn't Jay Sollenberger from Kansas at the time?
Yeah, I never ran into him. I know he was teaching school out in like Belton, Missouri or somewhere like that.
Yeah, because he was with Chase, right?
He was, yeah. So he came back to town after I left.
Oh, okay.
My nephew, though, I think was in his music class in Missouri.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So
and Danielle Nicole, I think they, this great blues artist.
yeah.
I think she also studied with him in like high school.
Oh, cool. Well, do you have students? That's another question I want to ask. Do you have students?
I don't really.
Do you take students?
I probably would. I mean, I've done a couple of things over the years, but not a lot. For BNS, I was doing some clinics for a while.
Yeah.
I didn't think I'd be any good at it, but I actually enjoyed it a lot. And I feel like a lot of stuff that I did was more kind of like because I didn't have somebody in high school like telling me how easy improvisation could be done.
Yeah.
A lot of my approach in those clinics have been like kind of for an all age group. Okay, here's how we're going to elementary improvise.
Yeah.
Let's just play.
Yeah.
And let's take these notes and use those,
Yeah. Well, that's the whole thing. We were talking about that earlier. There's some people that they can't play Happy Birthday unless you put it in front of them. And so I think what you're doing is great. I have a friend of mine going to your clinics, John Ruff, told me that you ran in. He said you ran in and you started clapping, and then you had them clap, and then you started playing with it. He goes, it was great. It's like any master class like I ever saw. He goes, but he said he was so engaging. He was very complimentary of your master class. But he said, and I think that's very important, to engage and it's more than academia. It's more than pedagogy. It's, actually.
It is. And there's always, music's very personal.
Yeah.
And you're probably right. I would take lessons I would give lessons if the right, situation presented itself. And actually, maybe that's a Freudian slip. Maybe I should take some lessons. It might be fun to take a lesson with somebody, There's a guy in Kansas City who's like knocking me out. Trent Austin?
That guy's great, man. That guy's great.
Man, that dude, man.
Yeah. And, because I always get the questions from other people. Do they take lessons? Do they take students, especially during this COVID thing? And sometimes I don't ask, and I usually ask that, but I've noticed that a lot of guys say, now I'm starting to teach more, and it helps me be a better player, And
I mean, I've had a weird thing happen during this whole thing. I had all these plans to work on all this music, and basically I've just practiced every day. I don't know what it is. I think, part of me is I've spent decades always having a gig.
Yeah.
And then when this came up, in some ways I felt like I just was taking a breath.
Yeah.
And just, okay, you know what? Keep your chops together, practice, but don't worry about what comes next. Just, recharge your battery. You're going to get back out there and play again. Hopefully sooner than later. I mean, at this point, who knows? But
yeah, especially in Los Angeles, I know that the live stuff is best, is till next year at least, right?
That's kind of what it's looking like. But there's a possibility I might get out before that, but we'll see.
Yeah. Also, do you do any writing?
I do. I did my own. I had my own band. I did better in New York than I've done here, and put out a CD. And it was a funk band with me singing and stuff, playing a lot of trumpet solos on it. And then I did another record that I didn't release. It was actually the last recording that Jay McShann ever did. I had him come in the studio in Kansas City and record him. I never released it. I shopped it for a while, and people said, we had other Jay McShann records and we don't know what to do with them. So it was kind of a vanity project because I grew up and I got to sit in with him.
Yeah.
And to me, this guy's like a monster of jazz. He's like one of the true icons, and probably never got spoken of the way that other people have, and probably should have.
Yeah.
His contribution to music was humongous.
Yeah.
So when I found out that I could get him in the studio, I got to get this guy in the studio.
Right. Well, that's cool. I got one more question. And first of all, And this has been great, Mark. Thank you so much, man. Like I said, man, I've always wanted to meet you. And I mean, I'm not trying to sound like a groupie or anything, but I mean, I just, like I said, I grew up watching you. And I love what you do, man. I got this one last question. And I think this is the topper on the cake. This is from my buddy, Bill. Mark, where did the term lover man come from?
Love man?
Yeah. Because they call you Mark Loverman Pender, right? On the show?
Love man.
Yeah, Love Man, yeah.
The Love Man. So when I was in Little Steven's band, we're on the road, and I had a Walkman, and I was singing along to Marvin Gaye.
Okay.
Steven was at my door, knocking on the door. I didn't hear him, but he could hear me singing. So that night, he came up with a nickname. On trumpet, we have the Love Man. So he starts calling me that every night.
Yeah.
And then Bruce Springsteen starts calling me that because he was at that show. And a couple of times I tried to get rid of it. And then finally I said, that's all right. You're the Love Man.
I mean, because there's a whole bit where you just go off and you start singing on the show, right? And
yeah, there was that whole thing. Yeah.
That's great. And you're actually a really good guitar player as well.
I'm an okay guitar player.
Yeah, you play on the show, right? You play guitar on the show, yeah.
That's a weird double, trumpet and guitar.
Now, did you get paid extra? Did you get an extra double?
A little bit.
Really?
Oh, yeah, cool. And I played harmonica on the show too.
Is that another double?
That's another double.
Nice.
But I never went into it looking for doubles. You know what I mean?
No, I get it, but I mean, that is a double.
Hey, doubles are doubles. We all get better by like trying to see if we can get notes out of another instrument.
Right. Mark, this has been great, man. I appreciate your time, and like I said, everyone out there is loving this. I mean, like I said, I'm a big fan of what you do, and I look forward to what the future holds for you, man. And thank you for taking the time to talk with us today.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me. It's really a pleasure. It actually does a lot of good to review every now and then.
Yeah, and you know what? I'll say this from all the trumpet players around, you really do us a great service, talking about what you do and how you do it and some of the things you had to overcome, because, a lot of us think that you guys are role models, like guys that, and people do look up to you, and it's good to know that you go through the same things that we all go through, Yeah, so,
and I think everybody does, and sometimes it's a thin line between what makes you good and what makes you great,
Right. So, all right. Well, I want to thank everyone for joining us this afternoon, and I want to thank Mark again and this is our VTE webinar. Mark, thank you so much, and we will talk to everyone soon.
Great. Thanks. All right. Thanks for having me.
Take care, Mark.
All right. You too.
All right, buddy.
All right.